Kevin, maybe let's just start with a general overview of things. I don't know what kind of, or if you even have any preconceived notions going into these camps, but what were your thoughts on the last 4 days?
Well, so these camps are great. I think, just kind of made the joke we didn't have these back in our day and stuff like that. And I think it just shows, how much the game has evolved. It's these players are craving knowledge. They're craving, working with coaches. They want to talk to, people. They want to learn. They want to, grow. And that's what the development camp for us, I guess the slant or the angle for us is not so much about player evaluation, but player orientation and player education, and those are, I guess, what we try to put in there. But it's also about relationship building and not just with the other players, but obviously coaches and the like. And again, for some of the kids, first time on the ice probably all summer, so you take that and you don't use it with evaluation. But I know talking to Arnie, and when he talked to Jimmy and Keener about what he wanted to see at a development camp, and it was a little bit different. He talked about board play, talked about just different things that as a coach, when you see young players come in, that kind of gives them the edge on playing. So that was kind of what we wanted to try to accomplish here.
One thing Jimmy said earlier this week, and let's face it, last year Rutger was such a huge personality. We saw everything going on and off the ice. But this year, some guys stepped up as leaders. They took advantage of that void. Did you see that as well?
Well, I think you just ask players to be themselves, and that's really what it's all about. You're not asking a player to be or do anything that they're not. But I do think part of the the process is you want to see how players do grow year over year, not only physically but emotionally, mentally, and again, that is, I think, the essence of when you have young players, is seeing them grow, seeing them come into their own, having the confidence, not only to carry a puck down the ice, but have the confidence to go and sit with the first-year guy and say, how's it going? How's your day? Last year this was for me. And that's again part of the process.
Kevin's had these development camps for a few years, and I assume there's a science to it. You've learned what you like, what you want to do. Where does the I guess I want to say best practices or research come from to be like, these are the types of outcomes we want to have? Are you studying summer camps or universities, or is this all within hockey?
I think again, I think one thing I know that Jimmy and the development staff they're always looking for different things, whether it's trying to read up on things or talk about different things. They probably talk to different people within kind of their sphere of acquaintances or in the game and stuff like that. But it's also just trends in the game and coaching. But you're always looking at different things. Mental health has been something that when we first started doing these, we didn't really touch on that. Now it's such a big component of this week, is having people come in and talk about handling social media, handling the pressures of being a young prospect, and all that goes into it, because it is like it's young players want to get there so fast, and people are telling them you need to get there, you need this, you need that, but you have to help them understand where they are in the game, where they are in their own headspace, and again, how to feel confident. So those are things that I think have evolved over time, where again, it's a big part of our organization, not only from development camp, but moving forward when they get to into the pro ranks.
Follow up just on that topic.
Yeah.
It must be one of those things that have changed over the last 5-10 years, where a prospect now, the number of voices they have in their ear. So how do you manage when there's mom, dad, scout, trainer, agent, this coach, that coach, to help them sort of process all that?
Well, that's a great question, because it has become more and more, and it's become, whether it's a skills coach or a skating coach or a nutritionist, they've got this way. Well, you were told this, and mom and dad, want me to do it this way, and so that's where, again, you try to give them as much professional knowledge as you can, whether it's speakers, or whether it's we brought in a chef from this year that is helping with our chefs here in our building, but also talking to the players about the needs of nutrition and the values of nutrition. That's something that players really didn't understand. Like back 10, 15, 20 years ago, it was chicken and pasta, it's like that was the meal. But now players are understanding, well, if I do this, my body's going to do this, or I need this for my body to do that. And again, it's all about processing that information. And like you said, you can't, there's a lot of voices that they have to decipher. We're just here to try and help them, give them some guidance that, with how the professionals, I think, that we bring in, can help. Ultimately, it's always going to be up to the player to kind of process that, and you don't want to overload them, but in the same token, you want to give them good information.
Kevin, not to ask you about any particular player, but just what's your overall impressions, I guess, of the current prospect pool and what you guys kind of have in the system right now?
Well, again, I think excited about, some of the players that, we're finally going to get to see over here. Elias Solomonson, again, I think it was a great opportunity for him to go back to Sweden last year and to play, obviously, a big part in winning a championship. You can just see, again, year over year. That's the exciting thing for us, is seeing a player year over year over year, and whether it's skating or whether it's strength or whether it's, just personality, just seeing them evolve. And a player like Zach Naring there today had a great camp and great time out there. He's going to be going to college now. You're going to be looking for that next step. And then just seeing some of the players for the first time. Alphonse Frey coming and seeing. You hear about his skating. You see him playing over in Europe. But when you get him in here with the group and you kind of. You get excited about, those opportunities in front. And, and it says a lot about a player like Brad Lambert who, doesn't have to come here, but wants to come here and be a part of it and take on that leadership role.
Fabian Wagner, is the plan for him to come over here? Or?
Well, we're going to talk about that still. Again, we'll see what's best. I think that'll be a topic of discussion as we continue to, evaluate what's going to be best, for his development. At this point in time, we're still probably undecided what's going to be best from his camp and our camp.
I wanted to ask you just about, we've seen a number of Russian players this summer get out of KHL deals. You guys have a guy in Dmitry Rashevsky. Yeah. Is there any update on him, or is he committed to another year?
Yeah, so we've been talking with his North American agents to try to see if where he is at within that realm. We had a Zoom call with him and his representatives last year. We would like to try to, obviously, go that direction, but there's every situation there is literally different when it comes, to that, but we're hopeful.
Kevin, you've seen Chaz Lucius more off the ice, right these days than on it.
Yeah. What have you learned about him as a person, I guess, through this time?
Well, he's had to really show his resiliency. Again, he's had some different type of injuries over the course of his time, and obviously he went to junior. Things were going great there, and blows his shoulder out, and obviously here the heel injury is a, I don't want to say a unique one, but it's a very unique one, and one that is going to require him to put a lot of off ice work. And he's showing it. You see it in his body frame right now. He's put on weight. He's bigger. He's put on size. Again, one thing, and I was unfortunate to have an injury as a player. One thing you learn is it tests your will on how much you love the game, how much you want to play. The off-ice work that you have to put in when you're rehabbing, an injury. That's all will and fortitude. It's just easy to say I've had enough. But when you see a player that constantly is trying to bounce back from that, that's an important trait to know that they want to play the game, they love the game.
We often talk about players keeping a team in the organization. We don't always talk about a team keeping the faith in a player. I guess that's sort of the things you look for then in a guy who is going through it, is trying to having to learn to walk again for the third time.
Well, again. I don't know how it's done in other organizations, but this organization here, we definitely, when we draft a player, you become part of our family, and you take care of them like they are your family, and that's an important thing. I know that our trainers, our medical staff, take a real hard interest in all aspects of them. Whether it's the actual injury itself or the mental well-being of the player going through that tough time.
This might be to ask you before the fall, any update on Rutger? that situation, or is it?
You would have it if it was.
In terms of integrating these guys into Winnipeg and showing them the community off the ice, how important is this week to that?
Well, it's a great time of the year here in Winnipeg. I think that unfortunately, not a lot of players get to see, just how wonderful the summers are here, and I guess the only unfortunate part is we probably didn't get them out on the lakes to get some fish and stuff like that. But that's. I think it is important. I think for everyone to see that the passion of this community, and to see all the people in the stands in the middle of summer at a development camp. I think it shows these players that hockey matters here. Hockey is a big deal. You're going to be part of a community here that that loves the game and loves you, and hoping that you'll love it back.
Kevin, just before we get the last question, maybe let's talk about some of the guys you have signed and traded for recently. What was the method behind the madness for guys like Anderson-Dolan and Fleury and Dylan Coghlan?
Well, again, at free agency, there's different opportunities as you go along. I think for us, Hayden Fleury's been someone that, you've scouted, you've seen for a long period of time, and has experience in the league, has had some ups and downs, and is a good opportunity for him, and Coghlan to come in and compete and push, giving, the organization, some depth, but also some different options. Anderson-Dolan is a player that, he's kind of right there, like he was. We watched him in the LA organization there. He got claimed on waivers, didn't quite play as much as maybe he had wanted, but plays hard, plays with energy. Mason Shaw plays hard, plays with energy, compete. So there's going to be lots of competition, at those levels.
You said more cap space now than maybe anticipated. Had some of, had Monahan signed or some example like that. Do you anticipate filling it?
Again, it all comes down to opportunity. It's if there's an opportunity that we feel is right, we obviously have the ability to jump on it. But again, you don't use cap space just for the sake of saying, I'm going to use cap space. Again, there's lots of different avenues, things that could unfold, and again, like you talk about the different opportunities that some of these players in this camp might have, or a player like Chibrikov, or those are kind of things that you don't know until and that comes in September.
Just to piggyback off that, it's been a whirlwind sort of 9-10 day stretch here with everything compressed. What does the rest of the summer now kind of look like? You signed 2 RFAs yesterday. So
well, there's still work to be done. We obviously have got to get Ville signed. We've got to get Cole Perfetti signed. So there's lots of work to be done. Maybe it's not so much in the forefront, in front of the cameras or in front of the draft or those kind of things. But there's lots of work that still goes on in the background.